So, of course, today, of all days, when I decide to start recording again, I have a huge cold. So, I apologize if my voice sounds a bit odd. So, a few years ago, I was wrapping up teaching a Unity 3D class, and COVID hit. And I took the opportunity to decide that I was going to learn the Unreal Engine. And the goal was pretty simple. I was going to make a game template so people could play together in a game doing a listen server multiplayer game, meaning that one of the players hosted the game. One of the students from my class, a gentleman named Kelly, decided he was going to join in. And that's really what started all of this. And it's been several years now at this point. Now, what we didn't know at the time was all these new features that Unreal was coming out with were actually for dedicated servers and really didn't work with the listen server game. Level streaming, texture streaming, a lot of these things require that you have an external server somewhere out in the cloud, which is the exact opposite of what we wanted. We wanted people to be able to play their game with their friends and not have to worry that the company would shut down and all of a sudden their game would no longer work. Even though it's not really equipped to deal with listen server games, we went ahead and we stuck with it and we spent months learning the engine. Then we spent tens of thousands of dollars buying all these different plugins and basically becoming part of the Unreal community, which is fine. But it still leads me to where is our end product? I can say that we have made at least a dozen fully functional games. But each time we get to a certain point, we realize that there are new features coming out, new technologies coming out, and all of a sudden we'd go, we've got to change this, which kind of kept dragging us back to square one. If you're going to try to make a large listen server world, a world where one of the players is actually hosting the game, and it actually be functional and fun for the players, you have very few options. And one of the first things I want to talk about is terrain. Now, terrain streaming in a non-listen server game is fairly easy. Unreal has made a lot of tools to do exactly that. Unfortunately, none of them, and I mean none of them, work in a listen server game. So, with that being said, you got very few options. There's a voxel one that we've waited 3.5 years for improvements, and it still doesn't actually work. And it's reducing its multiplayer capabilities. There's another option, and then there's what I consider your best option. And your best option is this plugin called Shader World, which is absolutely brilliant. Now, the poor creator of this plugin, I have pestered him from the day he released it to make it more and more artist friendly because I personally don't like writing materials or shaders. And slowly over time, he's kind of listened to me, and things just keep getting better and better. And I really do appreciate all the effort this guy has put into it. So if you want to make a listen server world, go ahead, bite the bullet, and grab this. And this will at least get you the world that your players walk on at a decent frame rate, and it will work in a multiplayer system. Let us assume that you got the world figured out. You've got the terrain. Players can actually stand and walk around. The next thing you're going to want to consider is movement. And in a multiplayer game, especially a listen server multiplayer game, this can be incredibly demanding on the host player's computer. And we're always looking out for better methods. And to this day, I have not solved this problem. This is something that I want better and better options. Now, Unreal says that they're going to change over the next year their networking and movement code and improve it. They're also saying that they're going to multi-thread the entire engine. So this problem may go away over the next year, but you can't necessarily count on Unreal and Epic getting this done in a timely fashion. It could take them 6 months, it could take them 6 years. And what you need to worry about is how to solve this problem now. One of my possible options is this general movement component. I bought this ages ago, haven't touched it yet, and I will be showing it in several videos, especially if I think it shows promise. But before I even get started with this, I know how many things are attached to movement. You know, spawners for monsters and for animals, all these things have a dedicated connection to the movement component, and it's for making the game more efficient. So using an outside networking plugin, something that doesn't use the movement component, has its dangers in that it could become very, very complicated. So what I'm going to do while Kelly is wrapping up version 13 or 14 of our current game, I'm going to be testing all this stuff. I still want that template. I want a basic template that we can reuse over and over again and use for different genres, different story types. And my experimentation is hopefully going to future-proof our games so at the last minute we're not changing 90% of our code. Now I'll make a few models for Kelly and we'll wrap up the version that we have, but I still feel like we have a long way to go to get that template game that we can base other titles on and build other titles from. And that's kind of what some of these videos are going to be about. And I'll definitely show you our experiments as we go along. I hope you enjoy the series, and let's hope that in the future I'll have many successes to show you to make your life easier in game development.